Guys, I feel like having another chat with y'all. Spencer here, Fogale's in football. We're going to talk about Bo Nix. Bo Nix was drafted by Denver. Sean Payton. Bo is my favorite football player because Bo Nix, he had to overcome so much adversity to work out at Oregon. At Auburn, he was pretty much ousted at Auburn. He was supposed to be the prodigal son, coming home to the plains there at Auburn. His dad, Patrick, played at Auburn and just failed under massive, massive expectations at the University of Auburn. And failed a little bit, but he was supposed to be the 5-star, the savior of the program. He didn't have the best wide receiver talent, and Gus Malzahn, Gus kind of lost that fastball, kind of that edge. Gus in the early 2000s when he had Nick Marshall, Cam Newton, and, all those guys that were there at Auburn, when they won the kick six, and that was the height of Gus. And, that team with Nick Marshall, they went on, the prayer at Jordan-Hare against Georgia and everything. But then they haven't been the same team since then, right? They haven't. And Bo even just admitted that from a football standpoint, it wasn't the best from a football standpoint going to Auburn, but he had to see what it was like because he grew up loving the university. He loves college football. He wanted to see what his dad kind of built there at Auburn. Patrick, his dad, was a quarterback there in the 90s, and then his dad is an excellent high school coach at Pinson, Alabama. So Bo had his highs, but Bo also couldn't read a blitz for the first couple of years of his career, and he always tried to do too much, and he'd make tons of mistakes, and his home-away splits were just abysmal in terms of the away from home. So he was a very inconsistent, kind of erratic quarterback at the University of Auburn. So then when he went to Oregon, people are like, okay, we have this middling, this SEC quarterback that under big stages throws a lot of interceptions and loses a lot of football games. We have somebody that has been overrated and as a 5-star quarterback hasn't been the elite of the elite because Bo Nix was considered the elite of the elite. And even in his first game at Auburn, he led a Cinderella game-winning touchdown throw against Oregon, and everybody thought this guy is going to be the guy, the savior. He's going to save Gus Malzahn and raise Gus and this program to the next level. And what ensued was 7-5, 6-6, disastrous games on the road, and he played too early, probably. Now, for his development, it's amazing that it didn't break him, but he was incredibly, incredibly inconsistent as a quarterback. Incredibly. To the point that he was downright bad in a lot of games. And he wasn't that dynamic. I mean, when he went up to Penn State, he played okay. He had his moments like against an LSU. He would have these special plays, but it was never consistent. And what Bo Nix did going to Oregon in 2 years is really amazing. I mean, there's several quarterbacks that when they get to that level, at USC, maybe think of Keaton Slovis or JT Daniels. JT Daniels had so many concussions he can no longer play. But there's quarterbacks that when you get hit in the mouth and need to transfer out, there's quarterbacks that never make it back. I mean, look at Shane Illingsworth, who played at Oklahoma State, who never made it back. Look at a quarterback like Casey Thompson get kicked in the teeth at Nebraska, never made it back. There's so many quarterbacks that when they get kicked in the teeth, They don't make it back. And what Bo Nix did to make it back, what he did at Oregon was amazing. I mean, the guy turned into the most consistent quarterback. He was the most inconsistent quarterback. And he turned all of his negatives and he made them into strengths. And Bo Nix is a quarterback at Oregon. Bo Nix's record at Oregon is absolutely astonishing. The guy at Oregon, I'm talking about one of the guys in Bo Nix. He went, I'll tell you his record. He only lost 4 regular season games in 2 years. No, he only lost 3 regular season football games in 2 years at Oregon. 3. He was 22-3 in the regular season at Oregon. In the postseason, he won a Holiday Bowl, completing a last-second touchdown to Chase Cota. The guy was amazing. He was the most accurate passer in the history of football. 77% completion percentage, beating Mac Jones, is Alabama record. The guy did not miss. Even when he lost to Washington, the one school that he lost to 3 times in 2 years, Bo Nix in both of those games had magical moments. When he was in Seattle and those fans are pouring down on him, he would throw across his body and make magic to Patrick Herbert. He would throw deep balls to Troy Franklin, rainbow throws from 30 yards out. The guy was a magician. When Chip Kelly came up there and they played a primetime game with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's a quarterback who started for the Browns, the height of UCLA, and Chip Kelly came up to Oregon to play Dan Lanning. Bo Nix shredded UCLA like wheat, like freaking wheat that we're going to try to make our own beer on this channel with. He shredded them like wheat. When Colorado came in with all the height, a healthy Colorado in week 4, it was 35-0 before you could blink. When Oregon State played Oregon this year, Oregon State beat their ass a year before. Bo Nix got revenge. 28-7. Rolling right. Throwing across his body to Troy Franklin. And now that connection gets to take place in Denver. So will that improvement, will that lead to a quarterback that's ready to step in at 24-25? And is he ready to take Denver to the next step? That is the question. Just because he dominated as a 23 or 24-year-old, are we talking about a Stetson Bennett that's going to have problems and where he's not going to translate? Are we talking about a quarterback in Zach Wilson who's also 6'2", who also plays off schedule, but a quarterback who had an amazing year at BYU, but failed in New York? Are we going to see that with Bo Nix? Bo Nix is one of the most polarizing prospects because he's not that tall. His arm strength is not to the level of Caleb or Michael Penix. His deep ball is up there with Jaden Daniels, but is it better than Jaden Daniels? And if we were to look at last year's quarterback crop, Bryce Young has a better deep ball maybe than Bo Nix. So what will happen with Bo Nix? Bo works hard. Bo has all the intangibles. If you're going to compare Bo Nix, you compare him to Jalen Brunson of the NBA, of the New York Knicks. This is somebody that works his tail off. This is somebody who has mobility. This is someone who has height. This is someone who has some talent. He's not a complete walking dead man like Mac Jones. But is the game going to be too fast? Is Sean Payton, is his fastball gone? Does Sean Payton just hire his guys? There's no really good receiver on the Denver Broncos. There's not. There's not. Denver receivers are horrible. It's a tough situation. If he was going into Minnesota, it'd be a lot better. But he's going into Denver. I think it can work. I think it can work on some level. I think that Sean Payton can get the best out of Bo. I think Bo will at least be a solid NFL quarterback. We saw Brock Purdy succeed. And I think it can happen. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what Bo's going to do in Denver. Great quarterback room. Zach, Jarrett Stidham, another Auburn guy who transferred from Baylor. I'm pumped. Count me in as pumped to see what Bo's going to do. But what a story from Auburn, from the 5-star recruit that couldn't fulfill the billing of a 5-star, needed to transfer out, and then had some of his most consistent years as a college quarterback. It's going to be a fascinating story.